My mom was also the JV coach at the time, so I didn't want like my friends to think I just made varsity because my mom was a
Right.
coach. So at tryouts, I really had to like prove myself.
First of all, how did you get injured? What
Yeah.
happened?
So, I mean, I probably had one of the worst injuries any athlete could have.
Mm-hmm.
I tore my ACL and meniscus, so I was out for a solid like 11 months, which definitely was a setback in my career. It was like in the peak of my recruiting. So I feel
Yeah.
like field hockey, like just getting it out there and like becoming a known women's sport would be really good for our country and like just like women's
Right.
sports in general.
All right. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Next Gen podcast. Today, our guest is out of St. Louis this time. I think our first St. Louis guest. So Ellie, welcome. Thanks for being here. How are you doing?
Good. Hi. Thank you for having me on the show today.
Of course. So a little context about Ellie for anyone out there. Ellie and I are actually like family friends, grew up together, and the past couple years I've gotten to really watch her succeed at her sport, which is field hockey, which is we haven't had anyone with field hockey on the show yet, so it'll definitely be fun. And now get to try her hand at some college sports. So Ellie, let's go back in time and talk about how you started in field hockey. Like, how did you just pick that one up randomly?
Okay, so my neighbor when I was growing up was like the owner of our club that I played for, and she always saw me in like the backyard playing soccer with my brother. And
Mm-hmm.
then one day she was just like, "You should come try field hockey." And I was like, "Sure." I didn't really know what it was. I was really young. I was 5, so started
Wow.
at a young age. So I kind of just went out one day, picked up a stick, and ever since then, never looked back.
Right.
Just kept
Okay.
going, just like
Compare field hockey to like any other sports you've played for like those of us who might not know as much about it.
okay, so I would say okay, so it's like similar to ice hockey, but in a way more similar to soccer or
Okay.
lacrosse. So like um it's definitely you have like a stick like ice hockey, but you're on a field, and then you have 11 players, 10, and then a goalie on a field, so that's more like soccer. And then
Right.
there's like no offsides though, and then there's just like a whole bunch of other rules that are just like confusing to try to explain, but like you have a ball and a stick and you wear normal shoes and you're on a turf. So
Mm-hmm.
I would compare it most mainly to soccer if you're going to compare it to a sport.
Right.
But then like
Um,
hockey if you're off the
yeah.
ice.
When you were in high school, you were also playing basketball and soccer. How did you know that field hockey was what you wanted to stick with and really focus in on?
Um, I loved soccer growing up, but I feel like I am like a shorter athlete being around like 5 foot. So
Mhm.
I was a goalie. So I kind of knew that in college it would be harder to get recruited as a soccer goalie if I was super short. And I mean I was decent, but I definitely just fell in love with field hockey and like knew it was my sport. Like didn't know height. You don't have to be like a certain height. Basketball,
Right.
obviously, 5 foot. Wasn't gonna go play college basketball. Wasn't
No.
so. I don't know. I just stuck with field hockey. I just love the sport. So I think just the love for the sport really had me going.
Right. We have to talk about Jen for a minute.
Okay.
How was it having your coach be your mom for so much of your life?
Yeah. So she was always in the background. I mean, obviously, she was never one of my, like, head coaches, but she's always on
Okay.
the sideline as, like, an assistant or something, and always at home making sure I was, like, getting better and
Mhm.
better. So, I mean, she's still there, like, supporting me time and through. I mean, I don't really consider her as, like a coach. I feel like she's just, like, a mentor to me and, like,
Yeah.
she, like, has always pushed me to be the best I can be, and obviously she was a lacrosse coach, so she wanted me to play lacrosse, and that just
Mhm.
wasn't my thing, so just stuck with field hockey, and now she's a field hockey coach as well, so, I don't know, I feel like I just see her as a mentor trying to push me instead of coach.
Right. Was there ever any, like, tension with her being so active in sports, and obviously you being so active in sports, of her
Mhm.
trying to, overstep in areas that you wouldn't want her to?
I feel like I would have to say no to that because, like, when I was older, she kinda stepped back and started working with, like, younger girls, and then obviously when I
Right.
was younger, she worked with me more, and I feel like when I was younger, like, having my mom work with me was just, like, cool, like, my mom was there to,
Right.
like, help
Right.
me become better, but, like,
Mhm.
when I grew older, I feel like she kinda just, like, took a step back and started working with younger divisions to teach them the sport instead of, like, focusing on, like, older
Right.
girls, like, my age.
I feel like my brother and dad, because 'cause they're in that situation, like, well,
Mhm.
my dad is my brother's, like, full-time head coach, and my brother's like, "Bro, it's time to step away, go get
Yeah.
your own team."
Yeah, I feel
So
like
it's always a
if she would've stayed with me as, like, when I was older, I would've been like, "You're good, like, you could
Yeah,
step away
yeah, let me
now."
have my time.
Yeah.
So let's talk about your high school sports experience before we get into Central Michigan. You started varsity as a freshman.
It did, yeah.
How was, like, the tryout process for that and being so young on the team? What did you go through?
Yeah, so it was I would say it was difficult, obviously, being
Mhm.
young and coming out as a high schooler, nervous freshman year. My mom was also the JV coach at the time, so I didn't want, like, my friends to think I just made varsity because my mom was a
Right.
coach. So, at tryouts, I really had to, like, prove myself, and I actually didn't get pulled up to varsity until the last day of tryouts. I was always
Gotcha.
just, like, with the freshmen or with the sophomores, and so I just, like, kinda just played my hardest that first tryout and kind of just, like, showed that I've been working hard for that position, and
Mhm.
then I would say when I made varsity as a freshman, I would say I was nervous. I was the only freshman in my grade to make varsity, and, like, that was the first sport of, like, high school, like, you're
Right.
meeting people, so I would say my biggest setback in making varsity as a freshman would be, like, friends. I would say, like, because I was always with the upperclassmen, practicing with the
Right.
upperclassmen. On the weekends, we would hang out because they were just, like, on my team, and so I would say, like, I never really got to meet, like, a lot of new people until, like, my sophomore year, which as a
Gotcha.
freshman is kind of, like, just different going to a new school, you wanna meet new people, but
Right.
I wouldn't say, like, it was a like, I just thought I just worked hard to make that spot, so I thought, like, in my opinion, I deserved it for, like, the work I had put in over,
For
like, the
sure.
summer and past years, so
Yeah. Later in your high school career, you got the title of captain. What responsibilities, did you feel like you held in that role?
yeah, so I received captain my senior year, but I would say that I sort of always am just like a leader, like that's just a
Right.
strength of mine. So I would say I led a little bit junior year. I was also the center back my junior year of high school as well. So of course, like my voice had to be heard out on the field. And then my senior year, I was also center back. And I feel like I had a strong goalie behind me that like helped me lead as well. But I also had two young girls out like on my wings, playing
Okay.
wing defense with me. So I had to lead them to make sure they like understood what they were doing. And then the girls ahead of me were also young. So just using my voice, staying positive, I feel like that is like mainly what would see myself in as a leader, just like my positivity on and off the field, making sure we're like focused when we need to be focused. We can have fun, of course. It's high school. It's just like a high school sport, but
Right.
our goal in the end was, of course, like make it to state or even win that state title. So we were always focused, ready to play, but also had so much fun in the end.
Speaking of state, I was looking back at some of your stats. You got
Mhm.
2nd in state senior year and then 3rd junior year.
Yeah.
You never got the whole award. How
Yeah.
how did you guys work towards it, and, like, what setbacks did you have, continuously getting so close but not quite being there?
Yeah, so field hockey in St. Louis it hasn't been that big, but in the past, like,
Mhm.
I would say, like, 4 years, it's really blown up here, and so, obviously, teams are getting better, girls are getting better, so my junior year, we ended up losing in the state semifinal to, like, our rival team, And we ended up losing, like, in overtime off of, like, a crazy
Mm,
shot by, like, one of my best friends who now plays at Louisville. So that was obviously a bummer, but I knew that I had another
right.
year and I had time to work and the team had time to work and come back at it. I mean, I obviously personally had setbacks. I had an injury my junior year, so that was rough, but I came back senior year. And I think that our team really wanted to we made it to 3rd, so we needed to make it
Right.
higher next year, obviously. So we ended up beating our rival team in our normal division play, which we hadn't beaten them in like 4 years. So
Wow.
that was really cool as a senior. And then we ended up losing to John Burroughs in the state final. But I mean, we won 2nd place, but we acted like we won state, like, it was so
Right.
cool, it was fun, like, no one was like, "Ugh, we got 2nd," like, we were still happy, like, we made
Mhm,
it past what we did last year, so,
for sure.
yeah.
Although your high school team might not have won state,
Mhm.
your club team did well nationally.
Mm,
Looking it up, the Gateway Field Hockey Club that you were on while you were there was ranked 6th in the nation.
yeah.
First of all, how do you even, like, go about finding out that you are 6th in the nation? Like, what tournaments did you have to play in to receive that title?
Yeah. So obviously, field hockey with club is different than high school. So you don't play club during your high school season. It's like a rule
Right.
you're not allowed to. But field hockey is pretty much all year round. So instead of playing in like the cold winter in Missouri,
Mhm.
we would go to
Right.
Florida twice a year and we would play two nationally ranked tournaments against the top teams in the world. One in Disney and then one in Tampa, but it moves around every year. So
Right.
we'd go play nationally ranked teams and then we would always somehow come out with a good outcome in those tournaments. We were a strong team with like all the top girls in St. Louis
Right.
and ended up getting like second, third in those tournaments. And then that just ended up raising our national ranked. And then also we would play a regional tournament in St. Louis every year, and we made it to nationals by getting second or even winning regionals almost every year. So we would end up going to the national tournament to play in the summer in Virginia.
Nice.
We'd do okay in the nationals. We'd usually rank like top 10-ish.
I mean, I feel like that you can't be complaining about being
Yeah.
top 10 teams in the
No,
country,
can't
right? Like,
complain. I wouldn't complain.
yeah. Um, so you were busy, like, high
Yes.
school playing for your club, a slew of other extracurriculars, I think, like, student council or something like that,
Yes.
and keeping a good GPA. How did you manage being a student athlete?
Yeah, I would say in high school, it's a little easier than now being a college
Right.
athlete. So, in high school, I kinda managed it. I mean, obviously, you have a study hall period or like a free period in high school,
Mhm.
and so I would really just, like, use that period as time where I would just lock in, get all my homework done because I knew that I either had a practice right after school or if I was
Right.
done with high school season, I would have a practice for like 2 hours and I wouldn't get home till like 9:30, 10ish. So I would really use that time that they gave us in school and work on my homework and get ahead and not goof around because I knew in the end
Right.
it would bite me in the butt.
Mhm.
Um, I take my academics really seriously. I mean, I study, I get all my homework in. I'm not the girl that's like, "Oh, you turned in a late assignment." I will never be that person. I will always have my assignments in, like, probably 2 days before they're due, which is good. I'm not a procrastinator. I am very schedule oriented, so
How do you
that is
think,
good
like,
as an athlete.
you got that mindset? You just, like,
I
it
would
was a
say
survival tactic or
I would say my parents. I mean, they're both have jobs, obviously. My mom
right?
has, like, 6 jobs and my dad has 2 jobs. So, they're both very busy people and they always have a schedule and their, like, calendars are always full, but they
Yep,
always know, like, this is when I need to do this is when I need to do this. I feel like they have really shaped me to, like, make sure I'm on top of my stuff.
for sure. You mentioned, earlier getting injured your junior year.
Mhm.
First of all, how did you get injured? What
Yeah.
happened?
So, I mean, I probably had one of the worst injuries any athlete could have.
Mhm.
I tore my ACL and meniscus, so I was out for
Ooh.
a solid, like, 11 months, which definitely was a setback in my career. It was, like, in the peak of my recruiting, so
Mhm.
that was a bummer, but I ended up overcoming it and committing to Central, and then, playing my senior year, came back, like, right in August and played my senior year of high school.
Wow.
And then I was gonna play another sport in the spring, and I was like, "It's not a smart idea." So,
Yeah. How
yeah.
did you recover so quick? Like, what did it take for you to be able to, be able to play another season and not miss out on
Yeah.
another one?
I'm gonna give all the credit to my PT and my trainers
Mhm.
that were behind me. I mean, my PT, Christina, was amazing. She in and day out was always checking in on me, had PT almost 3 to 4 times a week, on crutches, off crutches, barely knowing how to walk, didn't have any muscle in my leg. Um, so just rehabbing, like, almost every day, and then I'm also gonna give credit to my strength and conditioning trainer, Margaret Ott, who helped me to become a runner again and
Right.
getting back in shape, definitely gained some weight. So losing that, getting back in athletic shape so I could play my senior year to come back.
How do you think your injury affected your recruitment process? Do you think, like, you would have had some different options if you were able to play your junior year?
Um, I would say I would say it affected me, but not in, like, the biggest way. I would say that I had most of my offers already before I was injured.
Mhm.
But, like, I feel like I had to make a decision now, like, right as I got injured because then I wouldn't have been able probably to play if I wanted
Right.
to get recruited more after my injury was after I was recovered. So, I would say I had most of my offers before, so I really didn't affect me a whole lot.
Right.
Um, so mhm,
When did you start looking at, like, the recruitment process? When did you, like, decide, "Okay, this is something I wanna do in college,"
yeah.
and then, like, how did you start figuring out how to get recruited?
Yeah, so I started at a pretty young age. I started around 8th grade, freshman year of high
Oh, wow,
school.
okay.
So I just first wanted to just, like, kinda get my name out there, so I started playing USA field hockey.
Mhm.
I started with the Futures program, and that was I started pretty young in that, I think around, like, the age of 13, 14-ish,
Okay.
and I would compete with first the girls from my state, and then you would have to get selected from that to go to, like, a regional tryout. And then from there, you would get selected to a national tryout. So I feel like when I made it to the national tryout, that is where I really got my name out, and that's where coaches started, like, really, like, seeing, like, my name out there, and then I would always go to college clinics every summer. I'd go to, like, 6 of them, always be
Right.
traveling, just to, like, kinda get my name out there. But, I definitely started young at a young age. I feel like that helped a lot.
Yeah. What other schools did you look at besides for Central Michigan, and what made them, like, at the top of your list? Like, give me, like, your top 3 to 5 schools that you were really serious about and what made them important.
Yeah, I liked, so obviously I loved Central. I'm
Right?
just gonna put that at number 1. I mean, I'm there now, so, and then I would say I liked the University of St. Louis,
Okay.
but it was just a little too close to home for me,
Fair
and
enough.
then I would say I liked Holy Cross University or Northeastern University.
Okay.
But that was a little too far from home for
Fair
me.
enough.
So
How far is
Central
Central Michigan?
Central is like
For
an 8-hour drive from St.
Okay.
Louis, but I usually take the flight. It's like a 2-hour flight, so it's not that bad.
Right.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
So what made you choose Central Michigan? What made it top of the list?
Yeah, so obviously went on campus for my first time for a clinic, and, I fell in love with the campus. I just think it's, like, big enough, but also small enough, that, like, you feel like you're on a college campus, but then, like, you're not walking miles to your
Right.
class. I also fell in love with the team when I first got there. I just think they're like very welcoming, like felt like family. And then
Mhm.
obviously I love the coaches. My coaching staff is amazing. Head coach Jennifer Johnstone, love her. And then assistant Abby and grad assistant Robin. I just feel like the coaches really helped me to make my decision because of how welcoming and supportive they were from of me.
Yeah, I mean, I've only passed, like, 2 or 3 emails back and forth with your athletic department,
Yeah.
and honestly, like, from a journalist point of view, sometimes that sucks and is so difficult because they'll say, like, "Oh, yeah, we have to go ask coach," and they'll just, like, never get back to you. The Central Michigan staff was and like, got back to me so quick and was like, "Oh my gosh, like, we're so excited for this, like, it sounds like you and Ellie have it figured out. If she's happy, we're happy. We'd love to support you guys both." So I was like, "Wow, that was, like, better outcome than I could have expected."
Yeah,
So it does seem like they really do, like, care about
they do.
the growth of their athletes and not just like what the university looks like. You know what I mean? Because
Yeah,
sometimes you totally get that from a school that they're like they don't care about the individuals, they care about like how it makes the school look. So
yeah.
I don't know, it was kind of like a breath of fresh air for sure.
Yeah.
But let's talk about moving to Central Michigan,
Mhm.
starting up your career there. Like where are you living on campus?
Mhm.
Give me, like, the whole, like, move in, meeting the team, getting settled in process.
Yeah, so obviously we're a fall sport, so we move in earlier than other sports.
Mhm.
And so we moved in August 7th, so pretty early in like the fall, you would say, end of summer.
Right.
We live in an all athlete dorm, which is super
Nice.
nice. So I pretty much met like my friends right away, my friend
Mhm.
group obviously right away. I think our class and our team just clicked right away.
Really? Okay.
We got in there, we found our people, and which is kind of difficult because we had 12 girls in our grade, which is a lot for a recruiting class.
Yeah.
Um, all come in from all around the country, and
Mhm.
we all just kind of clicked and like we were like, we're just gonna like get right into this. Like, let's just play some field hockey.
Perfect.
Obviously, I found my closest friends at Central already. Lena, Peyton, my roommate, and then one of my closest friends on the team. And then I feel like the sophomores also live in the dorms, so
Okay.
we also just got really close with the sophomore class, which is also good for like a team culture. And then on the field, we all just like became close and clicked and had so much
Yeah.
fun in the fall season. Mhm.
You've obviously never spent this much time away from your family, especially having a
Mhm.
family that is so supportive of your athletic career and now them not being able to be at every single game.
Yeah.
Um, what did it take for you to, like, get used to not being homesick?
Yeah. I feel like okay, this is weird, but I was never homesick, I would say.
Okay.
I feel like just because how, like, Central is such, like you just feel like you're at home and it's such, like,
Mhm.
family. You just feel like you're, like, already in a family that, like, I never felt homesick. Obviously, because my family's so supportive, they traveled to Central for almost every home game we had,
Yeah.
and then our team came to St. Louis, and they provided a meal for our team, and
Oh, that's awesome.
so I feel like I never really felt homesick. Obviously, I'm gonna miss my family. I'm 8 hours
Yeah.
away, but I always FaceTime them every night, call them at almost once a week,
Mhm.
so try to stay in touch, but they obviously made the way up and trekked up to Central every
Right. I know.
weekend in the fall.
They are good at, like I mean, being friends with your brother Jake, like, they'll text me, like, almost every weekend and be like, "Yeah, we're in Lawrence." And I'm like, "What are you doing? Like,
Yeah.
why?" They're just wanting to come say hey, hang out.
Yeah.
So they definitely will check it out to see their kids for sure.
Yeah.
Um, so let's talk about this season. What did it take basically, like, give me a week in your life during season. What time do you have set aside for homework? What time do you have set aside for yourself? And what time are you constantly doing workouts and at practice?
Yeah, so obviously as a student athlete, your schedule is like twice as busy as a
Mhm.
normal student in college. So
Right.
I would wake up probably around, like, 7:30, 8-ish,
Mhm.
and I would go to class. So in the season, we would get all our classes done in the morning. So we would have class from,
Okay.
like, 8 AM to, like, 1, and then I would go from my last class that usually ended at, like, 1:50 to
Mhm.
practice that started at 2:15, 2:30-ish.
Nice.
So I would go
Okay.
from, like, one end of campus to the other end to, like, the facility area, and I would get ready. If I needed to get, like, an ankle taped or anything, I would do
Mhm.
that with my trainer, and then I would head down to the field around, like, 2:05, for practice. We'd usually practice during the season for around 2.5 hours, so
Ooh.
like from, like, 2:30 to 5 or 2:15, like, something around
Yeah.
there, and then every other day, we would go in for lift right after practice for around an hour and a half.
Yeah.
Lifts were variated. We could of some lifts we lifted, some lifts we just rolled out. Say we had a game the next day, we would just, like,
Right.
do, like, a chill rollout and stuff.
Mhm.
And so that was, like would be, like, a day in the life, but then, like, keeping track of school and stuff. As a freshman athlete at Central, you are required to do 6 study hall hours in the fall. So, like, right
Okay.
as you go to school, you have to, like, go sit in this room, you sign in, and then you have to get 6 a week. So, it seems like a lot, but, like and I would just go usually right after practice, right after lift, like, at least 2 hours in a night. I would get back to the dorm around 8,
Mhm.
and then I'd be done with my study hours usually by Thursday. Since I got well enough GPA, my hours dropped to 4 hours this semester,
Nice.
so, super nice, like, 2 hours less is obviously a big difference, so,
Yeah.
yeah, so that is a day in the life on season. I would say off season's a little different, but
Right, for sure. Give me, like, game day. Do you have any superstitions? Give me, like, the full how do you get in the mindset to, forget everything except for field hockey and go put it out there on the field?
yeah, so as a student athlete at Central, I would say we usually don't have classes on Fridays,
Nice.
which is nice, so we usually play Fridays and Sundays,
Okay.
so I would get up probably a little later than 8 o'clock. Usually wake up at, like,
Mhm.
9:30ish. Say we had a game at, like, 2 or 3, I would get to the locker room around, like, 12, which
Yeah.
seems early, but really isn't. So I'd usually wake up I usually do my hair at the dorm because I don't like to bring all of my stuff over to the field
Right.
house to do my hair, so wake up, maybe have, like, a protein bar. I'm not the biggest morning eat a
Me
lot of
neither, yeah.
meals before, so we definitely me and my roommate would blare music at, like, 9 AM. The dorm probably
Mhm.
hated us, but we'd
Well,
always do this
athletes, they're used to it.
yeah, one playlist every single game day. We'd blare music, we'd do our hair. I would usually eat a protein bar, then I would walk over the facility around, I would say 12 if it was, like, a 3 o'clock game.
Okay.
Usually there's a pregame meal for us, in the locker room, so my favorite would always be tropical smoothie. Usually have, like,
Yeah.
smoothie or, like, quesadilla or something before
Mhm.
game day. Then I would get ready, obviously just put my uniform on, I would do my left sock and then my right sock. Very
Why?
I don't know, I just always thought if I always have done my left and then my right, and
Huh.
then I always do, like, my left, and then I would put my knee brace on my left leg, and then I'd do my right, and then I'd do left shin guard, right shin guard, left shoe, right shoe. Yeah. So always left
Very
leg
particular.
yes. I usually wear my hair just, like, in a lower, maybe,
Yeah.
like, middle ponytail with, like, a bubble braid normally.
Mhm.
No headband. I used to be a headband girl, but since going to college, I've stopped wearing headbands.
Alright.
So we would eat pregame meal, and then we would go to
Mhm.
pregame, like, walkthrough, talk, scout, kind of just, like, the final touches on the other team who we're gonna play, get to know, like, if they have, like, good like, a decent player, we need to, like, watch out
Right.
for them. So then we would head down to the field. After that would probably be, like, 50 minutes before game start, like, before the start of the game. we get down to the field, put our shoes on because we wear our slides down to the field so we don't ruin, like, our turf.
Yeah.
And then we usually mess around with the ball, pass with a partner, and then you would, like, do a warm up with our strength and conditioning coach,
Okay.
and then we would do our full team warm up. We would usually split into, like, 3 groups or, like, a defensive and an offensive drill, and then by then, the time on the clock's pretty much up. We would
Mhm.
do a little huddle, team we would already know the starting lineup. You would find that out in, like, the scouting pregame meeting,
Yeah.
and then of course, the national anthem, the walkout, and then game time.
Right.
Yeah,
Time to lock in.
yeah.
If you're down, game's not going well,
Mhm.
it's, maybe a really tough opponent, it's a really important game. How do you help, like, as a leader, get the team, like, in a better mindset and be like, "Come on, like, let's get into it." Like, what do you do to help your team get out of, like, a mental funk?
Yeah, so that was we had I would say we had a couple of mental funks this
Mhm.
fall, but I feel like we definitely got out of it. I would say like the bench was always loud. You
Okay.
would never hear our bench go quiet once. Like
Mhm.
if our bench was always, like, screaming positive things, like, making sure our team was always pumped up on the field, and if you heard our bench go silent, then something was wrong. So,
Yeah.
we were never silent. We were always making sure our teammates could hear us
Mhm.
on the field because if we were loud, they would play really well. So,
Alright.
yeah, so that was pretty much just, like, positivity off the bench would put positivity onto the field.
Right.
Mhm.
So something a little bit off the field that I saw on your social media,
Mhm.
you have an NIL deal with Influxer Athletes.
Yeah.
How did you even get that? And basically, what does that mean for you?
Yeah, so pretty much all athletes at Central can get, like, a deal with Influxer, which
Okay.
is really nice, like, our NIL people really help us work on that.
Mhm.
We have a lot of meetings about NIL. It's becoming a big thing in college sports.
For sure.
Obviously, field hockey is a smaller college sport, so, like,
Mhm.
we're not gonna get, a lot of NIL yet, but hopefully in the future. So, I pretty much just, like, signed up. I mean, as a college athlete, you
Nice.
kinda just, like it's kinda given, so kinda
Yeah.
just signed up, and then if people, like, buy my, I would say, like, merchandise, then
Yeah.
like, make money off of that, which is nice
Mhm.
and cool, but, um, I don't really promote it too much. I probably should, but I don't. So, I don't know, it's nothing like it's pretty chill,
Yeah.
nothing crazy. I mean, it's cool to
Are
have
you
your own
looking
number.
Right, for sure.
Yeah.
Are you looking at any other NIL deals, or is that something you wanna pursue farther, or you'll just, like, kind of take what comes and focus
Yeah, I
on
think
actually playing?
Yeah, I think it's cool. I think it's a lot, like, it's
Mhm.
just, like, up and coming, especially in our sport, like I said, like, we're a
Right.
smaller sport, so, I do work with, a program called Athlete to Athlete, which I
Okay.
it's, like, where I, a student athlete, mentors a younger student athlete
Okay.
that either, like, wants to play college hockey or is struggling with their sport or something. So I
Yeah.
mentor, a girl every other week, and I
Okay.
just talk to her, and she
Is
usually asks
it the same girl? Is it someone different every week? Is it through Zoom? What kinda things do you guys do together?
Yeah, so it's, like, through Google Meet,
Oh,
and
cool.
I usually come with, like, a topic that I wanna talk about. It's the same girl, every other week, and right now I just have 1 athlete, but hopefully in the
Mhm.
future I can maybe bump it up to, like, 2 or 3.
Yeah.
Um, and so, yeah, I just talk to her. She usually asks me questions. We do goal setting. We do like mental health stuff. We do
Mhm.
recruiting stuff. She's younger, so we're kind of just getting into that like process. So it's cool.
Nice. Yeah.
Mhm.
Gives you a chance to give back for sure.
Yeah.
We talked a couple times about how field hockey or just women's sports in general
Mhm.
are on the up and coming.
Yeah.
Where do you see either as like an at-large community of just all women's sports, or
Mhm.
specifically for your sport, how do you see like that changing in the future and that growth? Where do you see it going?
Yeah, so I obviously am always gonna be rooting for women's athletes, and I always
Mhm.
hope that one day we're higher than everyone else. So field
Right.
hockey, I would say, is still, I would say, like, down here in, like, women's sports, a lot of people still
Right.
really don't know what field hockey is. So I feel
Yeah.
like field hockey, like, just getting it out there and, like, becoming a known women's sport would be really good for our country and, like, just, like, women's
Right.
sports in general. I
Mhm.
obviously think Central does a good job with, like, promoting women's sports, like, we have Women in Sports Day every year. They, like, love our women athletes, which is good. They, like, if a woman athlete does good, she's promoted, she's not promoted, she's made sure her name's out
Yeah.
there. People know she's doing good things. So at
Right.
Central, I feel like we do really well with women's sports, and I would love to see more of it, like maybe through other colleges and stuff,
Yeah.
um, or just like in general, giving more credit to women in sports
Yeah.
because we're pretty cool too.
We're here. We're doing stuff.
Yeah.
Um, you mentioned that the past couple years field hockey has really seen like a big boom specifically in St. Louis. Um, from traveling, like I don't even think we have much field hockey in Kansas City.
Yeah.
From your travels, going to those nationally ranked tournaments, are there other cities that you think field hockey might be growing in soon, or just overall it's growing?
Yeah, so I think it's kind of strange that for club we went and played field hockey in Florida because there's not really a
Mhm.
lot many clubs in Florida. So for me, I'm the only like, I guess like there's another girl from Illinois, but I'm the only like Midwestern girl on my team. There's
Okay.
a lot of East Coast girls. East Coast and field hockey is big. So
Yeah.
I would say the Midwest is the next growing, is where it's going to grow
Okay.
the most. Illinois is becoming really big. Wisconsin's probably going to become up and coming. Michigan's not a big field hockey school like area
Mm.
either, so that's like pretty new and up and coming.
Yeah.
But I know like California also has like pretty big field hockey area. So I think we kind of just need to hit like the West a little more, and then our
Right.
sport would probably be like up on the rise, and everyone would know
Right.
about it.
Um, Obviously you're only a freshman, so you still have plenty of time and eligibility to continue playing, but have you thought about post-college, how you'll keep sports or just field hockey in your
Mhm.
life? Do you have any plans that you want to, you know, how you wanna keep
Yeah.
it in your heart?
So I'll probably end up coaching. I'll probably go back and
Mhm.
coach for my club for a little bit that I played for, or even just like a club if I don't end up living in St.
Yeah.
Louis. Um, I obviously, of course, want to just like keep women's sports like up and going, and hopefully
Yeah.
by the time I graduate college, it will be bigger than it is today. Um, I would love to maybe like start a club. I don't know. I don't really know
Okay.
that much yet. I mean, and I would say in the United States, after college, you're usually like either done with field hockey unless you like are
Mhm.
on the USA team or go to Europe and play for like a European team. But like if you play college hockey in the US, you're pretty much like after that it's like you
Right.
maybe go coach, but like it's not like you would go on and like do some like USA big thing
Right.
unless
So you don't have
obviously
plans to look at, like, the USA team or anything like
um,
that?
I mean, I mean, I've done the
Yeah.
USA like stuff in the past. Obviously, I don't think I'll pursue it anymore.
Okay.
I mean, obviously I love field hockey, but like I think in the future I don't know. I mean, I don't know if I'll play it. I don't really have that many plans yet for the future.
Right, right. Who
Yeah.
knows? You have time to figure it out. You have
Yeah,
plenty of
maybe I
time.
will play the USA team. I don't know. It's up in the
Yeah.
air.
We will see. Well, I think we are about out of time, so let's do you have any last words you wanna say to think any, like, little Ellies out there that wanna follow in your footsteps, basically, and, like,
Yeah,
they love field hockey or in general, they just love their sport.
yeah.
Do you have anything you would tell them to help them pursue their careers?
I think just like keep working hard and like never get down on yourself because sometimes your weaknesses end up becoming like your greatest successes. So
Okay.
just like keep working hard, don't stop, and one day you'll become a college athlete. I know they will.
I love that. All right, well, thank you, Ellie. This was a great
Thank you.
time. This episode, per usual, of the Next Gen podcast is brought to you by Sports Radio 810. Sports Radio 810 bringing you the next generation of athletes and sports broadcasters and sports fans and all the things right here on the Next Gen podcast. So we will hit you guys. Oh my gosh, I totally forgot something. That's embarrassing. We need to do. I like literally got so close. I was so close. Okay, this is a silly little thing we're doing this season of the podcast.
Okay.
We're doing last season we did a bingo card where me and my producer put together like 24 things that we basically are a bucket list
Okay.
of sports related stuff that we wanted to happen. We had a Chiefs three-peat on there. We had a Taylor Swift proposal during the season. We had like all sorts of stuff. It
Okay.
didn't go so well for us. We had like 0 bingos. We got like 3 of them right. So this
Okay.
season, instead of me choosing them, I'm having each guest pick something that they want to happen. It could be about you or your school's athletic career. It could be just like any team that you like, be whatever you want. I know I just like totally threw that at you like last minute, but give
Well,
me something you want to happen in like the near future of sports.
oh no, I have like no idea. This is bad.
Okay, it
um,
could be a KU basketball thing, like a goal you have for them. It could be for Central Michigan's next, like, do you guys do a spring season?
yeah, we have a spring season. I'm gonna say for the fall, or does it have to be like for our spring season?
I mean, like, fall's gonna be out there, but
Okay,
whatever you want to
I'll do
do.
the spring. I'll do our spring
Okay,
season. I'll say that because we don't like play like real games for spring. So
right.
maybe I'll have to do something KU basketball because they're
It could
about
be
to
like your stats, though. It could be like for you to have a certain amount of assists or goals
Okay, I could
for
say
the
like
spring season.
maybe for like our team to win like 3 because we play like mini scrimmages. So maybe like
Okay.
3. I think we play like 6. So maybe like win 3 out of the 6, like win half of
All
our
right.
scrimmages.
I feel like that's very doable.
Yeah, I think it is too.
See, one of my guys, his name is Nathan Dirtle. He was my most recent episode. He plays for the Kansas City Comets, our indoor soccer team.
Mhm.
He has 5 goals on the season. There's only like maybe 4 or 5 games left. Like we're at the end of the season, right?
Yeah.
And he goes, "My goal is I want a hat trick." And I was like, "Ooh, you're averaging like what 1 goal every 3 or 4 games." But all right, buddy, we'll root for you. So
Yeah.
I think yours is very doable. You're gonna help me get a bingo.
Yeah.
So, Ellie, thanks for coming on today. This was great. Always good to catch up with you.
Yeah.
We'll have to get the families together soon sometime.
Yes. Yes.
Next time everyone's in town, which is
Yes.
quite literally never.
Yes.
So, all right, thank you for coming on. We will talk to y'all next time.
Yeah, thank you for having me. Bye.
Of course.